to see you out here at Nelson County Baptist Church on Sunday morning. Let's all take our hymn books, stand and join the choir, and we'll sing Great Is Thy Faithfulness, page 441 in your hymn books.
Seated. Good to have each and everybody out here with us this morning at Nelson County Baptist Church. Do we have any first-time visitors? You've never been to Nelson County Baptist Church before? Raise your hand. We have a visitors packet. We've got, of course, our visiting missionaries up here with us this morning, and great to have them with us. I'm not seeing any other raised hands, but it is good to have each and every one of you with us, and it's good to have Brother Gardner Gentry, former pastor at Victory Baptist Church in Louisville, Kentucky. He has been on the mission field for probably 20 years in Africa, and he'll be explaining more of that here in just a little bit, but great to have him and his guest with us this morning. Great to have them. Already met the little boys as well, and so good to have them with us. And this is February is our missions emphasis month, and so be praying about what the Lord would have you give toward our missions this year. And one thing that Nelson County Baptist Church has been faithful in has been their missions, and we appreciate each and every one of your all's giving toward that. But be praying and become for the upcoming year of what the Lord would have you do with Faith Promise, and so be thinking and praying about that, and we'll be taking those Faith Promise up to at the end of this month, and so you get a jump on it. So you procrastinators, you've got another 3 weeks to be praying about it, but no, just kidding. Please be praying about it before then. But it is great to have a church that does care about missions like this one does. The church directory was taking pictures, I guess it was up until last week, and I know there's been several families. I think Ms. Vicki said there was about 12 families that weren't able to get pictures taken during that time, schedule reasons and different things. But if you have a family photo, or we can even take one here, we want to get all the active, and especially all the active people that are involved with the church into the directory. And so if you could, if you were not able to do that, if you can just see Miss Vicki, or if you have a photo, you can get it to Miss Vicki. We'd greatly appreciate that. Also in the bulletin there, it has the phone number and also an email address. If you have one, you can send it there. And so we appreciate everybody's participation in that. And coming up in just a couple of weeks, we will be, with the emphasis on our missions, we will be having our international dinner on February the 17th, so it's a couple of weeks away. But there is a sign-up list in the back, and so if you can get together, the ladies, and be able to, I know it was a couple years ago, we had all different type of foods there, and so everything was great, had a great time, and so hope you make plans to be with us there on February 17th, and so that'll be our international dinner on the grounds here at the church. And the juniors and seniors are selling candygrams for a Christian school. They're selling candygrams for Valentine's Day. Cost on those are $3, and there's also one for $7. And so if you would like to, the orders do need to be placed today. So if you can get with one of the juniors or seniors, or see Miss Jan, and try to get that taken care of, because we will have them here next Sunday for you to be able to pick up. Or if you're getting one for one of the students, that will be delivered on Valentine's Day to them there at their desk. And so if you can help do that, that goes to help raise money for the junior and senior forum here at the Christian school. And so we appreciate your participation in that. And then we also have this coming up this week, we have the couples retreat that'll be going to Gatlinburg. That's something that's gotten to be an annual thing. It's been going on for several years now. Tabernacle Baptist Church has been hosting that, and that'll be down in Gatlinburg, or in Sevierville actually. So they do have room. If you have not already registered and you'd like to go, they do have room for one more couple in the cabins there. And so cost is $200 for the registration and covering the cabins, and then you'll be responsible for your own food and transportation there. And so if you could, all those who are going, you can meet right up front, right after church for just a couple of minutes to get a few things planned out. That would be great. And then again, if anybody else would like to go, please see Brother Darrell for that, and see if we can get you registered for that. I believe that's all the announcements we have.
singing this morning. We're in a chatty mood. I guess I should let y'all shake hands a little bit longer this morning. But then we're going to go ahead and take up the tithe and offering. Brother Brian, how would you mind praying for the offering, brother?
Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for the opportunity to be in the house today. Thank you, Lord, for your presence here today in this church. Lord, we just pray for this offering now. Lord, just use it for your honor, for your glory. And Lord, just help us each one to give cheerfully according to your will. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
This is our Missions Emphasis Month, and it's turned out being almost a whole month of it, the way the Lord's planned it out for us. And so I have a very special guest here today. Brother Gardner Gentry pastored Victory Baptist in Louisville for 25 years, and I knew him way back then, knew him back when he was at Beth Haven before that. And so he went to the mission field for 20 years. He's been on the mission field 20 years, and when he retired from there, and has a powerful work. And he's going to explain all that to you. At the second service, he'll be preaching and talking about what God's been doing there in Africa and how the Lord has just given open doors for him. All the things that have been started at the church, and just wonderful, wonderful testimony. He may want to say a little bit about it this morning. But I'm going to have Brother Gentry come with Tandy, and she directs his orphanage that I suppose his ministry started. And so she's going to bring the two boys, and I'm going to let him introduce her and her give her testimony this morning. And so, after she introduced the boys, we need somebody to take them to junior church. I think I'd like to go to junior church. So come on up, Brother Gentry.
Well, thank you, Brother Lucas. Appreciate being here. How many of you here? Let me see, raise your hand. If you're here, raise your hand. How many still trying to get here? Raise your hand. Now be honest. How many thought about staying home today? It crossed your mind, raise your hand. Look at that, 3 deacons. God bless your heart. Appreciate it. It's good to see some of you I know from Beth Haven way back, just after Noah's flood, you know. And but the Lord's been very good to us in America, and also here in Kentucky. God has blessed us over at Victory Baptist. Started it from scratch and scratched our way up and stayed with it for 25 years. And then a missionary was in trouble in Africa, and he was out of our church, and he asked me would I go with him to help him, encourage him. And so I told him I'd fast about it for 30 days, which was January of 1999. February 99, we went. And God got a hold of my heart in that country, seeing so many people walking this way on the road, some this way, looking for something to eat, a grasshopper, anything they could find. Thousands of them, the earth just black with them. And God touched my heart. And though I've been to many mission fields behind the Iron Curtain, South America and other places, but it wouldn't leave me. I went home and it just stayed on me. Like chewing gum on the bottom of the pew. It was there, it wouldn't go away. So I went back again in September, the same thing, same year. And I knew that's where the Lord wanted me, so I come back home and resigned Victory Baptist Church. And in April of 2000, we were living there on the mission field. And poorest people, third poorest country in the whole world. But people that are kind and very gracious and loving, and will do anything for you. And so after getting our feet on the ground and begin immediately to plant churches, that's the whole thing of it. And now the Lord has blessed us with some 703 churches in Malawi, a little better than 150,000 people in those churches on Sunday morning. And then country next door, Mozambique is like a horseshoe, and Malawi sits down in the middle of it. Down here in Guatemala, we have 108 churches now in Mozambique. And again, God is so blessed. But I don't want to take time telling you what the Lord has done with us. I want to tell you about the kind lady that's standing here, and those two precious little boys that's there with her. And her name is Tandy. I call it T-A-N-D-Y, just like candy, C-A-N-D-Y. And she was working in a brewery there in the city of Blantyre, the largest city in Malawi, Africa. And her aunt that raised her heard about the Bible college and said, that's where I think you need to be. She loved the Lord, and just as a young lady. So anyway, she came with us. And I couldn't make out all those names the way they, like the Old Testament. I couldn't tongue twist them, calling her, it'll take me too long to call her. She said, Brother Ginger, why don't you let me help you take that role? So she began to take the role and then give devotions and whatever else, become very active. Then she moved onto the compound. The first person to move on there in a building by herself, full of rats and roaches and whatever else. But she hung to it. And in 2003, we opened an orphanage. So many out of 12 million people, 3 million of them were orphans. To be an orphan, it means no father, no mother, no aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, cousin, anybody. It means you're totally on your own. She'll tell you about some of that. But anyway, I said, Miss Tandy, I want you to head up the orphanage. That was totally against her thinking, totally against her will. She'll tell you about that. So she's been with me now since basically 2002, I think it was, something like that. And so I'm just going to say, Tandy, you come and share with us. Would you do that? Sure. Tell us about these two precious little preachers. Preachers. The Bible says, go to all the world, preach the gospel to every creature. And where there's a creature, there needs to be a preacher. Amen.
Amen. This is Gentry. His name is Gentry. He's 5 years old. He got saved on the 20th January at Victory during the mission conference. And Brother Gentry baptized him on the 22nd January. Wow. And his name is Andy. He's 9 years old. Yeah. Brother Gentry said my name, of course, part of my introduction, but I can just tell you how I got saved. I was raised in the family of 7 children, and I was the 7th child, and my dad died when I was 3 months old. So 7 of us and my dad's people took away what we had. It ended us staying now in the village where we didn't have anything. And my mom, my mom's cousin, who is my aunt, came to the village and took me, and it's when I started staying with her in the town. I was raised in her house where we had about 6 kids, toddlers, and I was the older one. I had to take care of them because my aunt would go, like a lot of seminars, going to work. She was the early childhood director in Malawi. So I was the one taking care of these 5, 6 children, cooking for them, washing their clothes by hands, doing whatever I have to do so that they can survive. It was hard for me. There are times when I wanted just to leave and maybe go back to my village. Though my mom was poor, we didn't have food, but I'd rather just maybe go there. But as time goes, God was really encouraging me to keep on. Up to when she sent me to a boarding school, and at the boarding school, it's when the preacher came. And during the time when I was with my aunties at my auntie's house, I was able to go to church, memorizing the verses, whatever, thinking that a good child, a good Christian child can do. That's what I was doing, and hoping that I'm going to go to heaven if I die. But I didn't know anything about being saved. All I knew is about doing good work. It's when the time when I was at this place, the boarding school, a preacher came and preached about how you can really get saved. It's when I felt my heart that even though I'm doing this, I really need the Lord to be my Lord and personal Savior. I got saved in 1994, and I finished my high school and started working at the brewery. And it's when I heard about Good Samaritan Bible College. It's when I went, and I was one of the Bible college students there. And also I had like 3 or 4 youth meetings I had to do in different villages in Good Samaritan churches in Malawi. Coming from this church now, after this youth meeting, it's when I heard one of the men there say, we had a meeting with Brother Gentry and Mrs. Gentry, and we discussed about you, that you should be the one who should be the children's song director. That was in 2003. I wept. I refused. I cried, like, no way, I am not going to do that. Where's Brother Gentry? Finally, I met him. I went to him straight. I said, Brother Gentry, take me out of that. I am not going to be the children's song director. I can't be a mother to these children. I don't want that. And I know God will understand me better because I'm still doing the Bible college and also working in these villages, teaching the kids. I think that's better for me. And he said, well, we'll see. It did not please me. That's not the answer I wanted. Up to when I said, you better know that I am not going to do that. Still, I had, in my heart there was battle. Up to when I called his wife and said, you have to tell Brother Gentry that I'm not going to be part of this. I can teach the kids when they come to church, but I can't be their mother. And she did not even encourage me, giving me an answer that I wanted. She was like, yeah, I've heard that. So you cannot bring in the children in the children's home. You have to go to the villages where the children are coming from first, so that you can teach these people in the villages about the orphanage that you want to open. Because people have different mindsets in the villages, thinking that once they let their child go to an orphanage, especially seeing the white people, the Chinese, whatever, they think they're gonna eat their children or suck their blood. So they would rather see their child maybe dying with them in the village than letting the child go, knowing that, well, they're going to eat our child, they're going to suck the blood of our child. So it's when I had to go to the village and teach them and tell them that it's not all about that. So I had to go there with the social worker. When Brother Gentry begged me, like, okay, you don't want to be the children's song director, but can you take this step to whoever is going to be the children's song director? I said, yes, I'll do that. So I started going there, different villages, up to when we started bringing in the children. Well, after seeing those children, it just touched my heart and it just went through. Here I am now. There are times when you want to run away, but God will be like, okay, we'll see how you get through that. So I'm happy now. I have these children. I have my own 3 children, Anne, Gentry, and Peace, who is 19 years old, that I adopted. I adopted Peace when she was 3 years old. We had people from the village who came to our office saying that there's a mother who is dying, she's HIV positive, and she has a child who is 3 years old, and that child do not even have food because the mother can't provide. She's just on her deathbed. And it's when we went to the village and met this child, and it's when we took Peace to an orphanage. A month later, it's when we received a call again from the village that that mother is very sick, and she had been crying to see her child once more before she dies. So we took Peace from the children's home and take her to the hospital where her mom was. It's when the mom was still crying. I said, why are you crying? Because we have brought your child here. And she said, I'm crying because I know that she's at the children's home, yes. She has been there for a month. But I know when she'll be 18, 19, she'll be sent back to the village. And she'll not find anybody. I'll be gone. I was raised as an orphan, and the people who raised me, they're all dead. And I don't know who's going to be taking care of her when she goes back. So I said, well, she's still in the children's home, don't worry about it. So we left. And then, she was really down again. So we went again to the hospital and see her. She had a letter written up. She asked one of the nurses to help her write a letter saying that Peace will not be taken away from the children's home by anybody else. And she gave me that letter saying, please, can you be my daughter's mom because I'm dying. I was like 19, 20 years old, and that's the same thing, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't know, she's in the children's home, don't worry about it. Yes, I had that letter. And she told Peace the same time that you have to, from today onwards, start calling her mom. Being 3 years old, I didn't know that she really took that. And the time when we were leaving the hospital, she was smiling and she was happy. 2 days later, it's when we heard that she passed away. And then it was like, what am I going to do? I have this letter, I have this child, and the mother was happy, saying that she had left the child with me. I called my brothers, my mom, and the social workers when they said, I think you should just keep now, start the process of adoption. So I adopted her when she was 3 years old, and now she's 19. She's at the university education and special needs program. Yeah, so she's really a blessing to me. So some years passed, and it's when I received another call also from the social affairs office saying, we are now closing the office. We have tried to call different orphanages. They're not coming to pick this child. And we have this 2-year-old boy who was found, in people's damp places, eating banana peels, and he is just a sick child. And can you come and see? Maybe you can see how you can help us. So I went there and see the little boy, Andy, the older one, have you seen him? And his legs were just bent, like he was walking on his ankles just because he had rickets and malnutrition, and his body had so many open wounds, some cuts, and he had like a little big belly just because of worms from eating bad food. And it's when I took him, and his story was like his mom and dad died, and the mom's sister was the one taking care of him, and the mom's sister also died, and her friend, who was a prostitute, just left him, and he had nowhere to go. He didn't know anybody. There was no one to come and help him. So it's when another person just saw him and took him to the social affairs office. And when he came home, I would take a washcloth, warm, and try to stretch his legs. I know you can't even tell now. God is really good. His legs are back to normal. Yeah. And little Gentry, we named him after Brother Gentry. He came to the children's home, to our office when he was 8 months old. I just saw a government vehicle pulling in, and they handed me this child wrapped up in government bed sheets. And I took the child, man, it was smelling bad. I said, what's wrong with this child? And we went to the office, and he started explaining to us that another place they found this child, in a toilet, an outside toilet. So it was like 4 a.m. A lady wanted to use the toilet. It's when she can hear the child crying underneath like maybe 20 feet ground toilet. And she went out and ran like, we need some help. There's a child in there. So the men in the village, they came and break the concrete and they took him out. And it's when they took him out, it's when they were able, to try to find out maybe who did that on that area for some time. They couldn't find anybody. And that was more like 4 a.m. And they brought him to the children's home around 6 p.m. because they tried to call the orphanages that takes care of the infants. And our orphanage was not doing that, and the government knew about it. But all these orphanages, they refused, saying that if a child that was found in a sewer and that child is sick, can die, and we don't want any death case in our orphanage. Maybe even the government will be against us, like, why have we let this child die? And we don't want that. They refused. Up to when, knowing that Good Samaritan is a faith-based organization, they went straight to Good Samaritan and said, here's the child. It's time for us now to knock off. We cannot take this child to our homes. At least this is an orphanage. You should take care of this child. And he was 8 months old. I saw the child. He had scrapes just because he was pushed inside that pit. And when I was giving him a bath, I can see maggots around his neck. There was a lion eaten up by the maggots. Part of his leg was eaten up. And there was in the water, there was just so many maggots in there. It took us time so that the smell can go away. Up to when I called Brother Gentry, we tried different types of soap that can maybe have a good smell, antiseptic, nothing worked. And Brother Gentry said we should try with maybe tomatoes. So we tried, at least little by little the smell was gone. He was 8 months old. He's now 5. God saved on the 20th. It's really a blessing. And that time when I got him, he was just crying. He had those fevers, and we tried maybe to try so many names that we have in Malawi typically. Maybe he can respond, thinking that he knows us. Maybe when we call him by name, we tried naming him different things, different names. Then I say, well, maybe I should call you Gentry. When I called him that, he looked at me. That was the end of the cry. That's how we named him after Gentry. There are so many touching stories in the children's home. We have 5 children that are HIV positive. They came to the orphanage, by our own eyes, we'll be like, we'll be scared. Like, man, this child, how are we gonna do it? They have open wounds and different things. They're just sick, very thin. They've never started taking the medication because they didn't even know that they're HIV positive. So we started taking them to the hospitals, and they'll put them on the medication. And when you go to the children's home, you can't even tell that this child is HIV positive because God has been really good and giving them, food to eat that is at least balanced diet. And we have recently, when Brother Gentry was there last 4 months ago, we had, a family, the 4 kids that are siblings. A 12-year-old girl was the one taking care of the 3. The mom, the dad abandoned them 4 years ago, and they had no one. They had to depend on people in the markets. In the markets of Malawi, if something we have thrown away in Malawi, Africa, that means it's really bad. And those kids will eat like rotten tomatoes, not good things, not even healthy things. And that's what they were depending on. Up to when another man heard about Good Samaritan, it's when they gave us a call. And we went and picked them up. We brought them to the children's home, gave them a bath, clothes to wear. They didn't want to take off those clothes on. They had like 3 or 4 layers of clothes. thinking that we are going to send them back and at least they'll have like clothes on their body. They'll feel warm. They've never had a blanket. They have never had a mattress, a bed. You know, up to maybe like 10, 11 a.m. Usually the kids are outside playing. I asked some of the kids, like, where are your friends? They said they're still on their bed. They don't want to leave their bed because they've never had that before. We gave them food, which is not like, you know, chicken burger or whatever. It's a sima. For that we cook from cornmeal, corn flour, and it's just plain. We don't even put anything. And we'll boil the pumpkin leaves and put little tomatoes in there. Yes, pumpkin leaves. I've been seeing like during the Thanksgiving time, like, you know, you decorate your homes with pumpkins or whatever. I'm talking about the pumpkin leaves. That's what we peel at the outside and cut it little by little. And we put tomatoes, and the kids dip with that in the sima. The sima looks like mashed potatoes, but does not taste like that. They dip in that. That's what they eat for lunch. And for dinner, it might be beans or something. So, you know, they kept that under the bed. And I asked her, she not even bring food under your bed, under your bed. And she was upset with me, like, you don't know what I'm going to feed my brothers or my sister tomorrow. Then I said, you have food here. It's a thing that they have never had before. So it's really, maybe I can just say it's a privilege, you guys to have a country like this. Yeah. Man, it's really a blessing. That's right. There are times when maybe, I know the younger ones here, you might, oh, mom, dad, I don't want this, you throw that away. You know, you should take a time just thanking God for your mom and dad. To have them, it's really a privilege. To have pumpkins that you can put outside as decoration, wow, that's really a great thing. We have little pumpkins in Malawi that have been like, you know, inside you can see a worm. And that's what we cut the other part and boil the other good part. We have never seen, this is our first time to see big pumpkins like this. Even Andy and Gentry, they said, no, ma'am, I think you're not saying the truth. These are not pumpkins. How can the pumpkins be big like this? I said, they are pumpkins. You know, it's really something that you might take it for granted, but you are blessed. Right. And you really need to thank God and just praise the Lord for what He's doing. You know, they sent, they flied me to America just because in the children's home every month we have been really running the orphanage by faith. At least with those 125 children, we were at least supposed to have maybe $8,000 a month. That's a minimum. But every month it has been like $3,500 or $4,000. Or the times when we call Brother Gentry, we don't even know how we're going to take out the money from the bank because we don't know what we're going to do with it. And he'll be like, you know, I'm down. I can't go on the road now. You have seen that I'm getting older. You know, and we'll just say, okay, we'll just see how we can do. And that's why they were able to fly me to here. And the family that I stayed with, they had some pictures made that when after church, I'll lay the pictures. And before I came here, I called the children in the children's home saying, I'm going to America. The reason I'm going there, you know, we have been out of electricity, we have been in the dark, and there's times when we have a water pump. We cannot have enough water because we can't have the money to buy the gas so that we can run the generator so that we can pump water. You know, it has been really a struggle to pay the workers. So many workers run away from us, going to the other places where they can be paid 3 or 4 times. So it's why I called them. When I called them, we had some prayers. I told them that if you pray, God is going to answer the prayer. And we had prayers that God, you know, please help us. And even them, they prayed like if the people in America see our pictures, God should just, you know, use them in a special way so that they can sponsor us. And that is really what happened. We got all the sponsors for all the 125 kids. And it's really a great testimony. And those kids have been sponsored. The problem we have now, it's in April. It's when we have our dry goods. We buy our dry goods. Dry goods like beans, rice, or soya beans, you know, peanuts, stuff like that. April is when there's a harvest, and if you don't buy dry goods, those food in April, then the Chinese people or the Muslims are going to come and buy from the farmers, and which is cheaper buying from the farmers. And once those people come and buy from the farmers, they will sell us back in a very expensive amount. So that's why we are here also, pray for us. That way God can provide. Recently we have managed to raise $7,000 that we need for the dry goods in April. It's about $23,000. If we buy that, bags of corn, we stack them in the storage room. That way, when there's drought, there's no food, at least the kids might have something to eat. So thank you so much. Thank you for receiving us, and we felt read at home. And thank you very much for letting us speak this morning. May God bless you.
Just please, I beg of you, I'm known as the beggar across America now and in Africa. I beg of you, don't forget us. Don't forget her. Pray. She said, April, I must buy all the food to last for 1 year and put it in storage. 800 bags of corn, 100-pound bags, beans, rice, peanuts that's used for porridge for breakfast, so forth. I ask you to remember us. We give the kids the best of education. We have our own school, just like you do, and we educate them. They all take our kids' private school, and the government all have the same identical examination. Our kids come out way ahead of all the rest of them. God is so good to us, but it's people like you that'll give up a Coca-Cola, a Big Mac, whatever else, each month to help. Let me just throw this in as a plug. We have a Bible college that's maxed out. But many of those students in the Bible college don't even have a Bible in their own language. We can buy them for $7. Be something to put on your prayer list. Right. Like I said, we see over 3,000 people a month saved in those churches. I ask you to pray for us. We can go on and on. We'll see you after lunch. Amen. Like Paul Harvey, we'll have the rest of the story.
God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. What's that song? Jesus, 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 Jesus. There's just something about that name. Master, Savior, Jesus, like the fragrance after the rain. Jesus, 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 let all heaven and earth proclaim. Kings and kingdoms will all pass away, but there's something about that name. This morning I had the opportunity to talk to Tandy and Brother Gentry, catch up with Brother Gentry on his ministry and what the Lord's been doing. They told me a lot more details than they were able to share this morning. And I was just thinking while I was listening to her testimony, think about how the devil hates this nation. But the reason the devil hates this nation is because for all of these 2+ centuries, we've been founded on freedoms that have been a harbor of safety for the bride of Christ, for the church. The church has prospered with the freedoms and the guaranteed rights in America. And of course, we all know that those are under assault now, but from the devil's perspective and God's perspective, why are they under assault? Because they don't want, and the devil does not want Brother Gentry to be able to go to heaven.
That's right.
I know we can talk about our personal liberties and our personal prosperity and our personal upward mobility and personal freedoms, but I want to tell you something, guys. That's not why God blessed America with those freedoms.
That's right. Amen.
There had to be some place for missionaries to be sent out of.
Oh, hallelujah.
Some place where churches would prosper, young men and women would grow up and get a burden for the souls that are lost. And some place that would send out people of a land of prosperity to share truths that would help others prosper around the world. So that others, instead of being hungry, they would be able to listen to the gospel, but yet now they're hungry. And what's going to happen if we get caught up in our own pleasures and comforts? What's going to happen if we become so selfish that we get our feelings hurt every little whip snitch, get offended over every little thing, get so worried about our money, and so worried about our own comforts that we as Christians no longer send the missionaries because we don't care for souls. We care for ourselves. This is Missions Month. I can't possibly preach any message to follow that. I'm not even going to try. I tell you what we do need to do. I think we need to have an invitation. And I think that I'm going to challenge you. What things in your life have kept you from caring about souls? Is it your doctrines? Is it your conflicts with people? Is it your money? Is it your seeking your own pleasures? Your own feelings? Boy, I tell you, the door's going to close someday. If the Lord tarries in his coming, the doors of our own freedoms will close to where we won't be able to do this morning. There are those who want to shut this down in America. Millions of people want to shut us down so that we don't do this. But we as Christians, how hard do we pray for souls? Brother Gentry shared with me how this dear lady and those children fast. There's 1 or 2 days for God to provide them food and support. Every week they fast. And while we enjoy food that we throw in the garbage, you know, you can't do anything about sending your leftovers to other countries. I understand that. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be so grateful for our prosperity. But God didn't give us this prosperity just to enjoy. He didn't give us the freedom to be here this morning just for our own gain. It's always for others. And what are you going to do to build a great missionary church? You know, I think the reason God's given us opportunity for this land over here, the reason we go to gymnasium and raised so much money toward that, and how God has enabled us to pay our bills and prosper us, I think it's one thing and just one thing only.
That's right.
This has been a missions church.
There you are.
And we've cared for souls and preached the gospel. And that's it. I do think there's a definite correlation between God blessing us and how much we care for souls. And how much we care for missionaries. And how much we want to see people get saved. Because if everybody gets saved, I'm going to tell you, the world will be a different place. There won't be any hungry kids. Christians don't let kids go hungry. Christians don't have societies that do that. But unfortunately, there are hundreds of millions, billions of people in this world who do not have the faith of Christ and don't understand the things of God. And it's a brutal world. Well, I think that we're going to have to stand to our feet. Let's have Miss Amy come. We're not even going to sing. I just wanted to play. And I want you guys to come and pray about missions. And pray about your own hearts and your own attitude about missions. We just need